reports from Reuters news agency say that Beji oil refinery has been shut down after a bombing. Beji oil refinery, of course, in the north of Iraq, on the road to Mosul, about 130 kilometers, I believe, from the capital. Just to recap you there, Iraq's Beji oil refinery shut down by a bombing. That's according to a provincial governor. We'll bring you more details on this story as soon as they come into us. Let's move on to New Zealand now, where police say the death toll in Tuesday's earthquake has gone up to 144, with more than 200 people still missing. That number expected to rise further. Search teams from 6 countries have flown in to help local rescuers, but no survivors have been found since Wednesday. Violent aftershocks continue to hit the shattered city of Christchurch. Well, the Cricket World Cup is underway and Sri Lanka takes on Pakistan in a few hours. Matches are being hosted in India, Sri Lanka and Bangladesh. But even though it's a heavy hitter, Pakistan won't be co-hosting any of the games. Zain Basravi has more.
World Cup glory. Now anyone can have it. Cricket Power is the first PC cricket game ever developed in Pakistan. The official World Cup game is something millions of fans around the world look forward to. For the company that won the rights to make the game, it's a commercial coup. And for this cricket-crazy nation, another way to get in on the action. Pakistan may be having a perfect innings in the digital world, but things aren't going so well in the real world. Here in Gaddafi Stadium in Lahore, there is a tournament going on. Teams from across the country, some of the top players in Pakistan, are competing for a national title. But as you can see, the stadium is completely empty, and that's because it's too difficult to get the security needed to fill the seats. After the Sri Lankan team was attacked in 2009, Pakistan became a no-go country for international matches. Recent spot-fixing scandals have also been a setback. Cricket in this country has suffered financially. Cricket fans in Pakistan have suffered emotionally.
It's a big, big loss. Pakistan is a cricket frenzy nation. Cricket is a passion here. I mean, everybody follows that. And not being able to host the World Cup here, which was originally planned for Pakistan, part of it. So that is a big loss in cricketing terms.
For most of the fans in Pakistan, this is the best way to enjoy the sport. Good old-fashioned street cricket. On any given Sunday, anywhere in Pakistan, even in weather like this, anywhere becomes a cricket pitch, and all you need to become a neighborhood legend is a bat and a ball. Dozens of teams are playing on the same pitch at the same time. In Pakistan, cricket is more than a sport, it's a passion. And the love of the game is keeping people here optimistic.
Security concerns have hurt the game, but we hope someday the World Cup is played here. And this year, we want Pakistan to win.
Pakistani fans will have to tune in on TV or online to watch the 2011 World Cup, but real die-hard fans of the sport will be on the streets, hoping maybe one day they'll be the ones to bring the World Cup home. Zain Basravi, AlJazeera, Lahore.
We'll be hearing from one of the protesters in Tripoli when we come back, so stay with us.
If you're a Nokia user, you can download AlJazeera's news widget from Nokia's Ovi store. The news widget, available on compatible Nokia devices, gives users quick and easy access to real-time news updates from Al Jazeera English. See the world in real time. Al Jazeera Mobile.
From local traders to international finance, it's commerce that makes the world go round. For global companies and developing markets, communication is the currency, and information is the most valuable commodity. Counting the cost at this time on Al Jazeera.
Where the action is happening.
This is the main military push by the Pakistani army.
Where promises are broken.
We are going to have more families facing homelessness than we can even dream of.
Where progress takes its toll.
Dicing with death, grabbing whatever they can.
Al Jazeera.
The times change. The instruments evolve. The battlegrounds shift.
This is America! Our country!
But the international struggle continues.
He was murdered!
Uncompromising, hard-hitting investigations.
I can't get no justice from no one in Jamaica.
People and power, at this time on Al Jazeera.
Al Jazeera is journalism without frontiers.
Police are pushing the protesters and the media back off of the street.
From the mainstream.
Who will pay the ultimate price for this disaster?
To the unreported world.
Taking the less traveled path often gives you a fresh perspective.
Breaking the boundaries.
This is almost certainly the largest leak of military information in history.
Cutting through the hype.
You can see the angry exchanges outside the Ministry of Transport.
Al Jazeera is setting the news agenda.
It's 5:30 GMT, 7:30 a.m. in Libya. I'm Sami Zaidan, and this is Al Jazeera. Here are your top stories. Well, the US President Barack Obama has imposed sanctions on the Libyan leader, Muammar al-Gaddafi, and 4 of his children. And the UN chief, Ban Ki-moon, is urging the UN Security Council to take concrete action over the Libyan crisis. The Libyan leader, Muammar al-Gaddafi, has made another defiant appearance on state television, telling his supporters he'll fight on to the end. And Al Jazeera has obtained video of police in Iraq allegedly firing at protesters in Fallujah. 12 people are reported to have been killed in a series of anti-government protests across the country. And in a separate development this hour, we're hearing that Iraq's Beiji oil refinery has been shut after an apparent bombing. Let's return to Libya now. Protesters there waking up to a 9th day of turmoil. Nadeem Barber begins our coverage.
Denouncing the man whose forces they ran out of town. In Libya's eastern city of Benghazi, calls for Muammar al-Gaddafi to be brought to justice.
We do not want him to flee to another country. We want to punish him because he shed Libyan blood. He killed our young people.
Earlier on in the capital Tripoli, there were violent scenes as security forces loyal to Gaddafi fired on protesters. Several people were reportedly killed. Following Friday prayers, pro-democracy demonstrators had converged on the capital from towns all around. After claiming protesters across the country are influenced by both Al-Qaeda and hallucinogenic drugs, Libya's leader appeared in front of supporters in Green Square, insisting the population was behind him.
The Libyan people, if I'm not loved by my people, I don't deserve to live. If my people, the Arab and African peoples, and all peoples do not love Muammar al-Gaddafi does not deserve to live only for one day.
How much of this he believes is anyone's guess. Despite these pictures, Gaddafi officials admit large parts of Libya are now controlled by his opponents. But his son is now on a media offensive, telling invited journalists that Libya's armed forces have not attacked peaceful protesters.
Personally, I urge the Europeans to send fact-finding mission to Libya as soon as possible, because we are not afraid of facts. We are worried about rumors and lies.
To back him up, state television's been showing statements by army officers.
We are not fighting the youth because they're part of our people. We are only fighting the bandits. We had strict orders not to attack civilians but to defend ourselves and minimize casualties. The pictures shown on media outlets including Al Jazeera are old, and I challenge anyone to show any new pictures of violence against civilians.
All the while, the violence claims more victims. One protester sheltering with some of the injured in Tripoli described the scene to Al Jazeera.
Gunfiring is still heavily heard around us, and as I said, we are taking refuge with people we don't know and they don't know us. Other people are taken detained alive at gunpoint. Also hear the gunfiring and shooting around me. It is very heavy and intense.
Those who want Gaddafi gone may be feeling emboldened, but for now it seems he's digging in his heels. Nadeem Barber, Al Jazeera.
The UN Security Council has released a draft resolution calling for action after the violence in Libya. During the meeting late on Friday, Libya's UN ambassador denounced Gaddafi, who he'd called his friend just 3 days earlier. Mohammed Shalgham also criticized Gaddafi's attacks on civilians. In an emotional speech, Shalgham also said he couldn't believe the violence the leader was inflicting on his own people. He asked the UN to help save the Libyan people. Well, let's look more closely at the sanctions placed on Gaddafi's regime by Washington. The US plans to freeze assets held inside America by the Libyan leader and his 4 children. All US banks have been put on notice for a sudden movement of funds from Libya, and all US military assistance will be cut off. I'm joined again by Yusuf Bouandel, a professor of international affairs at Qatar University here in Doha. Thanks for coming in again.
Thank you.
We've I've just spoken moments ago, actually, to a protester inside Tripoli. He told me about him seeing police or security forces shoot at protesters. It does look like Gaddafi was serious in his latest speech when he talked about turning Libya red with fire.
No doubt whatsoever about that, because Gaddafi believes that he made Libya, he is Libya, and obviously he is not going to go away without a fight.
But at the same time, how does that fit in with what his son is saying? He's talking about calm returning, he's inviting EU inspectors to come in, he says he has nothing to hide.
This is too little too late. Saif al-Islam and Gaddafi himself should have come out maybe 8 days ago or 7 days ago to urge Europeans and even AlJazeera to go into Libya to report from that. He is on a media offensive, but it's too little too late, because right now Tripoli is a little bit unstable, and it's going to be more unstable over the next few days. Europeans are not going to go on fact-finding missions on the streets because they'll probably be killed themselves.
Right. Well, state television is announcing raises in wages, food subsidies. Is any of this likely to have any impact on the population?
Right now, none whatsoever. The population is determined to get rid of Muammar Gaddafi and his regime. Obviously, there are these certain measures that Gaddafi and his government are trying to take in order to calm down the situation, and in order to tell the outside world that these demonstrations are because of socio-economic problems that Libya is facing, but they are much more than that.
How are they going to get rid of him if, as we see, every time they go out and demonstrate in Tripoli, they're just getting gunned down?
The way is, we have been seeing over the last week or so that the Gaddafi's regime has been crumbling like a house of cards. More and more people in the military are defecting, and more people in the diplomatic corps are defecting. We saw Mohammed Shalgham, for instance,